Guys, this is so sad. What do you have?
It's a little baby rat.
You know, and that right there is why we live here, to enjoy this water. And I'm horrified to even go in this water because of what happened to me. They cut my leg off 8 times. I spent 5.5 months in the hospital. 3.5 months was in CICU in a hyperbaric oxygen chamber. I was being told on a daily basis I had 2 to 6 hours to live.
Standing right now, you should see what's right here where I'm staying. Those are the stacks. Okay, now look where we are right now. Look exactly where we are.
This is from Mosaics. You get some lots of shares.
How you doing?
My name Annie.
It's nice to meet you, Annie. Thank you. All right, 1, 2, 3. I gotta count my
So
feet.
tell me about what's going on with the waters here.
Okay, this is Mulberry City Limits.
And the middle school's right across the street, right?
Yeah, right across the street. Mulberry City Limits. Mark Lyon from North Florida came through, checked the water, found coliform in it. Just a bacteria test. I go to them, explain to them what's going on. They say it ain't happening. I tell them if they don't do something about it, I'm gonna go to every house in Mulberry and let them know. 2 days later, they fix the sewage lines, checking soil and everything else. So, but right now we're trying to peek at this gypsum stack right over there, across the tracks, because the school's here and this is the housing projects.
And what's happening to the children here?
Sick.
Very sick.
Yeah, she had nosebleeds today. My neighbor just
She
found out
had
the kids had.
nosebleeds today.
My neighbor just found out her kid is autistic. She's ADHD. 500 yards from the school, if that far. It's been there ever since I was a kid. They just built onto it, and it's actually the neighbor to the active Highway 60 stack. It's one of the 3 that's active in this area now. It's getting huge.
What color is your water?
It depends on what week it is.
And this is out of your faucet, your
Yeah.
sink, your bathtub,
I used to
your
have
shower.
clear water with great taste. Before they announced the sinkhole to the public, my water turned white and cloudy. I had red water, brown water, yellow water with bacteria as big as your fist coming out of it. Silicone-like beads in my water. At one point, they were big chunks. Then they started melting in smaller chunks, and you actually literally had to scrape them like polyurethane off your bathtub. I've had little gray sediment rocks in my bath water. I've had big red chunks of clay-like stuff that I actually thought it was clay or rust, but it wasn't. And she's the one who called me in the bathroom and said, "Mom, look at this." And I'm like, I literally thought, oh my God, what's she just doing my bath water? You know what I'm saying? And then 3 weeks later, we found out what it was, and that's when I went off, because I called Mosaic, and I'm like, at that time, they were only like 40 people aware that Mosaic was actually doing water donations or whatever. I actually had to have 2 news stations call them to get them to call me back to offer me water. And then they said I was using too much and sent me a letter saying I was using too much. So they cut my water off, and then they said it's because our test didn't come up positive for anything. They said that they didn't have any records to compare to the newer test to show that the uranium and stuff levels were high because of the sinkhole. But at the same time, I know that in 1989, the same company was working for IMC, ECT, and they actually sent letters saying they were doing surveys in the area. They checked the water in 89 and 90. IMC used to come to our house every year and check our water for radon levels. Mosaic, at this point, only checks for turbidity, pH balance, sodium, just things that are average in a phosphate mining area. They said they checked my radiation level, but when they check it, they do what's called it's a level 9 test basically, but whenever they show it on the test, people think, oh, well, my radiation level's not over 9, so I'm good. But that's not the level that you're supposed to be at. That's actually the number of the test they do. They pretty much make you believe that's what it is. They didn't do my gross alpha, and when they did, the records were sent to another water place to test it, 2 other ones, and those records have since disappeared. Now in Bradley, there is a woman whose radiation level was 35, and Mosaic has offered to
water samples back with us.
to get her a filtering machine. But reverse osmosis starts at 20 grand. She told him she's getting her own test, and she's getting her own machines, and she'll take care of her own water. Her son had a disease that's very rare, but can be caused by phosphate mining. He wasn't even 30 years old and he almost died. Thank goodness they found something to help him. It was a type of cancer. But our little small surveys have shown, you know, that 3 on the average of 30-something children have cancer in the area. 50% of the adults.
What about you told me about that
Yeah.
the Geiger counter that went off in the Mosaic
Oh,
Museum
yeah, it goes
for
off.
the rocks. They actually have radioactive rocks that
The
are in the
phosphate.
museum. They're their own museum itself.
Up at the museum.
Wow.
The Mulberry Museum has this big pile of phosphate. They stick out there in a drag line to let the kids dig in there and find them some teeth.
You kidding?
Yeah, some environmentalists came up recently before the Arcadia meeting and did the test on it and lit up the Geiger counter. 4.4, something like that, very high level. Same thing down in Arcadia, I think it is. But yeah, they expect kids to dig in that. They donate, they go to the schools. They actually went to my kid's school and spoke with her the day after I got into it with them at a Sierra Club meeting. They showed up in her class and told her class that nobody's poisoning the water, Mosaic is good. Well, when you have a classroom full of children who have never even heard about the incident, don't even know what's going on, and somebody coming in and an adult, a responsible adult in a responsible position and saying, we're not poisoning your water, then what is that child going to believe from that day on? So when my child says, I don't believe you, I know better, you know, or she tries to tell the other kids or have someone listen to her, they don't know because they're like, Mosaic said the water's good, but they're not. It's not worth my child's life or anybody else's to have to deal with it. Fuller Heights, right down the street. You remember Fuller Heights? Radiation levels, radium-226, radium-228, fluoride, all kinds of stuff in their water. It's a little housing community right here in Mulberry, and they sued and they won. But most of the people who won, all they got was a new water treatment plant and some money to build a house on the land that's already contaminated. So they win either way. They're always going to win. But Arcadia is the first time that we've actually won, and hopefully we can keep the win. Mosquitoes are beating you up. I know they are. But when you want to come through, here's what you can do.
And what's our location right now? Where are we at?
We're across the street from Mulberry Middle School in Mulberry, Florida. This is actually the housing projects directly across the street. They build a lot of, hey, I appreciate you. They build a lot of housing projects, and low-income families are stuck in these kind of places, especially Mulberry. If you mapped it out, you would actually see that the housing projects are in the most contaminated areas, or in the areas that are next to contaminated areas. We have a purine factory over here. We have metal coating here. We have just about any kind of business you could think of to go with phosphate mining in this county, in this town. We have ammunition's place built right down the street where they build ammo. We just have everything.
And so right over here is the school. Can you walk with me real quick so we can look at the school? All these children go to the school. Once again, like she said, right behind the school, this is where they do some of their dumps. 50% of the kids are affected in this school.
Directly on the other side of those trees is a gypsum.
You guys
Literally
watching
from here to
this
that
video, come on down to Mulberry Middle School, and you can go right behind the school here and see your own big
Stop
dump.
climbing that fence. Actually, I have videos and pictures of the same gypsum stack where me and Annie Maley went through there and took your pictures so you can look them up. But if you Google Earth it, just do the Mulberry Middle School. I went here when I was a kid.
So we can Google this
Stop running.
and read about this, correct?
Yeah. You can see where it's at on the maps anyways. Now, Mulberry High School is directly across the street. It was actually built on a pile of clay settling pond dirt in the 1940s or 50s. But this is how close we are to the middle school. And directly past that tree line is a big old gypsum stack that you saw coming into Mulberry from Barstow.
Big old gypsum stack right over there, you guys. Right over here. I know it's getting dark that you guys can't really see, so we apologize. We've been filming all day. Right over here is the middle school where the children do go to feel safe and to learn. But from what I'm hearing, it's not real safe here.
I have my Rick Scott is an asshole bumper sticker on my window at home. Hey, Rick Scott. Yes, please.
But would you like to say anything, Bruce, from what you just witnessed and heard from the families that live here and the kids
Well,
going
this
to
is
school?
something we already went through. I met them down at DeSoto when Board of County Commissioners, and that's when I went down there to speak in front of the board to tell them exactly what's going to happen if they continue this, zoning for the Mosaic, and then they voted 4-1 against Mosaic, which was good. That was the crowd of people coming in. We all worked together to make sure that we, the people, are going to keep our land, and that's what has to happen. So that's That's what. Yeah, that's why.